Well, Granddaddy thought that I was a fine shot with my rifle,
You
with
were.
my gun, and I was because I hit my target every time I shot. I told him, I said, well, I call myself a wobble shooter. I said, I point my gun, and when it gets on the target, I fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I always hit it.
Yeah. Well, you are a good shot. At least you were.
Well, anyway, there was a lot of good times and a lot of bad times. I know when Gail and me, Gail wasn't very old, and we hadn't been. Well, let me see. I don't know. You weren't born at this time, but anyway, I don't know where your daddy was at, but I caught the bus and went down to Corinth, and then I got a taxi, and went out to the house. To the well, Grandma and the kids was picking cotton out there in front of the house. And so I went in, I got out. Grandma come up there, and I got out, and I went in the house, and I changed my clothes, put on some jeans and a shirt. So I went out in the field and picked cotton with them, And so when we went to weigh, I had 75 pounds. Well, they was trying to get a bale of cotton picked, so they could take it to the gin and have it gin.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I'm not going back to the field to pick cotton the rest of the day. And Granddaddy said, oh, yeah, you are too. We need that cotton to finish out this bale. So I went ahead and picked and helped him finish the bale of cotton out. Granddaddy thought that I was really a smart person. I mean, he didn't let it, but he didn't try to keep it hid from me. And but anyway, well, I never had a lazy bone in my body because I was raised to work, and we enjoyed our work.
Mm-hmm.
Us kids, whenever we went to the field, we just made fun out of it, and enjoyed being together and working.
What about Tom? Do you remember when Tom hurt his eye?
Oh, yes. I remember I was at home there in Memphis, and in that little duplex when we was living on Panama Street. And Granddaddy called me and told me they were at the hospital, at Le Bonheur Hospital, Children's Hospital, said what Tom had done. And he was crying. And I just couldn't hardly believe it. I mean, I just could not hardly believe it. So I went down to the hospital, and it was just bad. He was cutting something like this, a piece of leather. He was holding, and the knife slipped, and it went right into his eye.
Oh. Mm. Well, I tell you, he hadn't let it slow him down any.
Well, of course, whenever it got well and all, well, they got him an artificial eye and put it in there. My sister, Edna, when I was 4 years old, she was chopping some pine splinters to start a fire around the wash pot for something. And I was watching her. I was standing over there, and as I reached down to pick up some wood, some splinters that she had her axe like this, and it come down, hit me in the head. I still got the scar right there. But she caught the lick before it, and I can remember it didn't hurt. It was just like a thud. And somebody grabbed me up and handed me over the picket fence to my mother in the yard.
Mm.
And it did okay. It got well, And I got a scar here. You can feel it. It's a dent right across there.
How old were you?
4. And I got a scar over here. It's not as bad as that one, but this one, we were playing in the cotton and I jumped against a thing and it stuck in my head.